Hello. Just gonna wait for people to trickle in. Fancy Pickles 27, good to see you again. Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm gonna wait a second just to let people join, and then we're gonna jump into the weaving. I finally got that humongous knot I had yesterday untangled. It didn't take that long. Once I wasn't trying to be in frame and do it, like I sat on the floor and untangled it and laid all my cards out, but it's just, hi Zach. It's just really hard to do it while like standing to be in frame and talking. And I feel like there's that thing, where it's like you can know how to do something and it's fine, but the minute you try to show someone, everything goes wrong. I feel like there's a little bit of that, but hopefully it's encouraging if you're trying to do this at home to see me struggle with knots, because if you have knots, maybe it feels less bad. So yeah, I've got all my cards here. Got my cards here. Hello. Right. Should we get going? I think I'm going to start with a slight recap of what we've been doing in case anyone who's joining hasn't seen the previous two live streams. So what we are doing is a technique called tablet weaving, which is used to make warp face bands, such as, pardon me for getting out of screen. Oh my god, there's so much thread over here. Ugh. We're making bands such as this. So we are learning how to make our own cards, set it up, and start weaving. So the first workshop, we went over how to make like little cards like these, out of plain cards actually. So they have 4 holes in them, they're labeled like this. I have an Instagram post outlining the dimensions of them so you can go back and make them yourself. And hello! And yesterday we went over how to warp and thread that. I do have the warping diagram posted as well, or the threading diagram. I saved that live stream as well, but I'm still trying to figure out how to repost them so they're here for later. So be on the lookout for that if you missed the first one. And today we're gonna actually start weaving, the moment everyone's been waiting for, because I know it feels like a lot of setup, but I guess it would be way too much to do this all in one huge live stream, because as you saw from my over hour-long one yesterday, this takes a long time. So I think we're going to start by loading some thread onto our shuttle. So I will be using this, I think it's called pearl weight crochet cotton. I'm not exactly sure. You can use whatever you have, really. It doesn't matter too much. Generally, it's nice to have a thread that's slightly thinner than your warp threads, just so you don't see as much, but it doesn't matter too much. So it's really pretty simple. So we're just going to take this thread, I know, it's hard to see, and pin it down and just kind of wrap it around until it's in place like this. And then we just continually wrap it in this little divot that we've made. And that's where our yarn feeds from. So I'm just going to put some of that on. You can always put on more later. You don't need to put on all that you're going to use in your weaving at once. But this is our little shuttle. All right, let's wrap. Okay. So how's everyone been doing today? Good? Ugh. I've got some threads that kind of went over the bottom. Got to pay attention to make sure that they actually go in here. All right. I'm going to say that's enough for now, so then I'm just going to kind of cut it, leaving a little tail, so that my shuttle ends up looking like this. Alright. So now that I've done that, it's the time where we kind of strap ourselves into this back strap. Get it? Strap in. So I have my cards here with a considerable amount of tail. I've kind of stitched this, or not chain stitched, what's this called? I've chained it to keep it from being too tangled. Alright, so it looks like this when I hold it taut with my cards in the middle, and kind of this is where we're going to end up passing the shuttle in between. So, to tie yourselves in, it's pretty easy. I just take this around my back and make a little knot around my waist. I'm probably going to have to move this forwards and move the camera a bit so you can continue to see me, but now my cards are all over the place. That's a later problem. So I just take it and make a pretty simple knot, and it doesn't need to be super tight around your stomach, it just needs to be tight enough that it's taut. If your ends aren't long enough to go all the way around your waist, you can tie it to a belt or something, or if you have something else that can go all the way around your waist to tie it through. We're just looking for the tension. So if you are familiar with backstrap looms at all or not, I'm going to tell you about them, I guess, because I've been talking with the donor of the original object. I've been researching, and she says that it comes from a nomadic group in Iran. So since I know they're a nomadic group, I would assume that these are woven with a backstrap loom because it is portable. So a backstrap normally is just your ends are anchored to another point, which here, show my setup for everyone who has not seen it yesterday. So I just have my ends tied to a chair that's weighted down with some weights. Could be a tree or whatever. And then there is a kind of a wooden thing here where you have a knot of ends that go into and kind of get clamped between, and then you have a strap behind your back, and the tension between your anchor point and you is what creates, essentially creates your loom. So I'm going to double check and make sure all my things are in the correct order, threading order, which you can double check against the Instagram post I made about that. But let's just check. Alright, so far so good. And also it's important to check and make sure your threading or direction is correct as well. So make sure what's up threaded should be up threaded, and what's down threaded should be down threaded, and so on and so forth. Alright, so it looks like I'm pretty good. Alright, let's see. That looks in frame. If you guys can't see anything at all or need me to bring the camera closer, please let me know. It's a lot to watch out for. So we are gonna start by just pinching here so that there is something for us to beat against. I've seen people use chip clips or like bobby pins or other things, but I just use my fingers because I don't feel like hunting for those other things. Simple as that. So I'm going to pass my shuttle through this kind of triangle we have here between the cards and my waist. And while I'm pinching that there, and then I'm going to hold my end in place. And I'm going to take my cards and do a quarter turn forward. So what this is going to do is this is going to change my shed, meaning that certain threads are going to be brought to the top that were not before. So right now we're in what's called an AB shed, meaning the letters A and B are top. We're going to go into an AD shed where A and D are on the top. So some of these threads that are on the bottom are going to be on the top, holding our weft thread in place. So I take my hand firmly like this and I do a quarter turn forward so my cards are now like this. I also find it helpful to kind of slide it forward a bit to give myself some room, and I beat down a bit with my finger. Now, I'm still holding on because at this point the ends aren't entirely secured. Based on... Oh, my magic fairy from off screen is giving me a bobby pin to hold this in place. So I guess I will show you how that works. So where I was pinching, I will just place this bobby pin, and that kind of holds it in place. Here, I'm going to flip the camera around so you can see what I'm trying to describe. Okay, there's the button. So you can see I have this, so I can't beat past this point pretty much, and that just allows me to secure my ends more quickly. Yep. And this is what it looks like after my first pass. All right. Oops. So far, so good. And now we go forward one more quarter turn. Again, so I take my hands firmly like this, kind of on the top and bottom, and twist my cards a quarter turn forwards, and then I beat down with my finger. There are certain kinds of shuttles. If you have like one that's not made out of a plain card and less flimsy, you could be beating with your shuttle or something else hard, but I find for weavings of this scale that it's just easiest to do it with your finger. So I'm going to take my shuttle and I'm going to pass it through here again. All right. So essentially what we are going to be doing is this, hello. So basically the process is we twist and then we pass our shuttle and all that, and then continually pass our shuttle and twist the cards, changing our sheds. So I pass my shuttle, I twist, I beat meaning I compact my threads down around the warp so it's nice and tight and pretty. So at this point I am on a BC shed, meaning B and C are on top. I've done 3 turns. So I'm going to pass my shuttle, and this is going to be the last pass I do, and then when I turn I'm going to be back at my AB shed, the one I started at. So it takes 4 turns to go all the way around. So I twist again, quarter turn forward, gonna move it forward to make it easier to beat, and get my finger in there, and I just beat down. So let's grab the camera and show you what I'm seeing thus far. So you can see I have something that looks like that. It's a little, you can see a little baby chevron starting to form. There, now it's in focus. Okay. So, we're gonna do 4 quarter turns forward again. So the pattern I posted on Instagram actually is comprised of 4 forward turns and then 4 backward turns, but we're gonna be doing just forward turns like 2 or 3 times in the beginning for 2 or 3 repeats to lock it in. So this is the equivalent of plain weave for tablet weaving. Plain weave is, it's like if you were to weave on a floor loom, that's kind of when you would lift harnesses 1 and 3 and then 2 and 4 kind of alternating to get this even plain looking weave. It's like, imagine like what you see when you see a simple woven cotton or something like that. That's in plain weave, and this is what I guess the equivalent is in tablet weaving. So I'm going to do my 4 forward turns again to lock this in place, make sure we don't have too much unraveling. Everything's nice and pretty. So I twist, beat, pass, and it's really just, you could continually do this and just get a nice chevron pattern. That would look nice too. So my second one, twist, beat, pass, but by going backwards we will be forming reverse chevrons as well, which will give us a diamond pattern. And the fun thing about tablet weaving is you can get a million different combinations just based on how you twist, like how many forward, how many backwards. You can get a lot of different patterns. So twist, beat, and pass. Also, like at this point, I am here. I'll show you the next one because I just pulled it out. So let's see if I can do this with one hand and show you what it looks like from here. So oh my god, I haven't turned it yet. There we go. So I have this little thing here that is called an eyelash in weaving. So I'm going to twist my cards one more forward. So twist and do my beat with my finger done like this. And then I'm going to pull on my weft thread of it and make that eyelash disappear so it's nice and tight. And that will give us some nice salvages. The salvage is what the edge of the weaving piece is called. And by doing so, yeah, if I pull too tight, it will cause my piece to draw in and like start to shrink in width. So it's kind of nice to leave a little bit of an eyelash and pull it after the fact. All right, so I'm back at shed AB. At this point, I'm going to start doing my backwards turns. So I'm going to do 4 quarter turns backwards to give my other half of the pattern. So we go from an AB shed to a BC shed. So backwards 1/4 turn. And then, you know what I did? I didn't pass my shed, and that's why that's not going to work. So I'm at AB, perfect. I put my weft through, and then I go backwards 1/4 turn, beading, passing my shuttle through, and then 1/4 turn backwards. So I take my cards and I turn them towards me, kind of push it forward a bit to give myself room to get my hand in there, beat, and then we pass the shuttle. Right. So we're just going to do that until we've gotten back around to an AB shed again, which is our starting point pretty much. So passing my shuttle, and this is my last turn, and now I'm back at my AB shed. So I'm going to pass my shuttle through, but then I'm gonna show you what I've got now. So I've got some chevrons and then kind of a reverse chevron as well. So these two here are what I did with my plain weave. And then now the next half of the pattern is going 4/4 turns forward again. So we will be getting a diamond since these will be a forward chevron again. And you can notice here there's kind of a white dot. This is the point where we changed directions in which we turned. If you look really closely at that photo I posted today of the original tent rope as we discovered it is, you can see it has those little dots as well. I actually originally thought they were like pickups over the warp threads, like you were taking the weft and going over specific threads on purpose, but it turns out that just kind of happens when you don't change directions because it's still over some of the same threads as it was previously. So you can see those at the close-up level photo I posted of these tent rope that I've been studying. Oh, is there a hair in there? I feel like I see a hair. Is my hair even that long? All right, hair removed. Let's go on going forwards. So back at it, I'm going to do 4 forwards. Hello to everyone who just joined. So what we're doing is we are tablet weaving, which is a form of warp-based weaving where you create different sheds, or which is this bit here is called a shed with these cards. So you would turn them and different threads would be brought to the front or bottom, which is how you create the pattern here, seeing as there's different colors of threads going into different holes. And then that's how you see your pattern. So it's a 1/4 turn, I beat down with my finger, pull the little eyelash tight, and I'm going to pass my shuttle through. 1/4 turn again. You want to know something interesting? I figured out about tablet weaving, or I didn't figure it out. I read about it, and it said that so tablet weaving is one of the only kinds of weaving that you can turn a corner with, like make a little edge with. I've read how it's done. I haven't tried it, so I don't know how it exactly works in practice, but theoretically you would start turning different cards. So like I would not turn this card, and then the next time I wouldn't turn these 2 cards, and so on and so forth until I get like I'm only turning 1. And then I would continually turn more and more cards as I was continuing my weaving to make a little point. And that's it. I can see where that would be used, because it's actually a lot of examples of tablet weaving being used to finish edges. So you would create this warp like we did the other day, and you would take the fringe of your other piece, like say I made a piece of cloth for a dress or whatever, and I would take the ends of that weaving and use them as the weft of this weaving. So I would pull it through, beat, turn my card, so on and so forth, creating this kind of edging to bind it all in. Alright, so this would go so much faster if I wasn't talking. So I've just completed my first complete pattern. So I did four backwards and 4 forwards, giving me this little diamond shape. So we're gonna go back to the 4 quarter turns backwards. And that's pretty much it. The pattern's 4 quarter turns forwards, 4 quarter turns backwards, and we go until we have the desired length. So I'm gonna just keep on keeping on. Still describing what I'm doing, but it really can be that simple. I swear, setting up is the hard part. Once you have everything threaded, it just is a lot easier. Ugh. I keep forgetting to pass the thing. You need to pass the thread, the shuttle, in your AB shed before you twist backwards again. Otherwise, you're going to undo your work. And I keep forgetting to do that because I'm talking to all you lovely people. Yes, like the textiles Eddie showed us. I don't know if that would actually exactly be done in tablet weaving, but you can still get the pattern like you would in these bands by using the other things as flash. I follow a lot of people who do Viking reenactments on Instagram specifically because I like seeing their tablet weaving. So I follow this woman who does Finnish Iron Age reconstructions, and she does a lot of that technique as well. Alright. I don't know, I feel like everyone who does Iron Age reenactments loves to do the ones from Finland. Like, I always see it be like, oh, here's my Finnish Iron Age thing. It doesn't matter where they are. It's all Finnish. What's up with that? What happened in Finland in the Iron Age? Does anyone know? Alright, so my quarter turn backwards. You could also do half turns as well in this and kind of jump in the pattern that way too. I haven't really experimented with that, but I know that there are patterns that do that. It's also, you could be doing like I could be turning like half of my cards forwards, half of my cards backwards, especially like there's 10 cards, so if I did half forwards, half backwards, I think that would make like diagonal stripes in one way, and if you did it like, where the other half was forwards and the other half was backwards, it should give you diagonal stripes the other way. So that's something you can experiment with while you're making this friendship bracelet or bookmark or whatever you're doing. You could also, like the diamonds would, there would be more diamonds like radiating if you did like 5 forward, 5 backwards, 6 forward, 6 backwards, or like say you do 5 forward, 4 backwards. There's a lot of different combinations you can get here, and that's pretty neat and interesting, so you can test and see. It's funny actually, because right before I did this live stream, I got a Snapchat from my old roommate who did Viking reenactment, and she was asking me the question, how many different patterns could you get from one threading of cards, and she already had like 7 different patterns just from the same, I want to say 20 or so cards. She does really crazy intricate things, like 10 times more intricate than I've done thus far, but it was kind of like mind-boggling to see all of it, because I know you can get a lot of different patterns, but there it was. I don't know. She's the one who I got the door handle warping trick from as well, so shout out to Ingrid, who kind of made me realize what tablet weaving was, because I had never heard of it before I was roommates with her. Alright, so now I'm at the point where I have done my 4 quarter turns backwards, and I'm going to do 4 quarter turns forwards. So we do forwards, beat, pull my eyelash. Sounds kind of funny, like pull my eyelash, but pull my little salvage in, pass my shuttle. This actually goes quite fast too. I find that I can do it while watching TV if it's TV I don't care about. So this is home improvement channel kind of projects where I can watch home improvement channel while doing it. How are you guys making out? Any problems thus far? Acing it? Alright. I think beating's my favorite part. I like just seeing how everything compacts and looks really pretty. Alright, I'm gonna flip this around yet again and show you my progress. So, I have done 2 pattern repeats thus far, so I've gotten 2 of these diamonds, and this is my plain weave section where I was only doing quarter turns forwards. You could also like vary the pattern by doing like 8 forwards, 4 backwards. You should try it. It's actually, threading's the tricky part, but once you get going, I think it's really quite simple and easy. I'm gonna try to re-upload the live streams that I did previously, but there's also just a lot of people who show you how to thread on YouTube. They probably don't blabber as much about historical research they've done on it, so added bonus of watching me do it. But yeah, I have them saved. I'm gonna try to figure out a way from doing this. This is actually exactly why I took this up, is because I was getting strain and pains in my wrist from all the knitting I was doing, so I was like, I think it's time that I just weave something. I don't know, I had like this period where I was like, I just want to weave, but I had a lot of knitting projects to do. And now I'm here, and I'm just weaving. And I can't knit because I left my yarn at home because I needed to change it, maybe color on my sweater. Alright, so I'm going backwards now. Oh, thank you. This is actually a pretty easy setup. I don't know if you saw this in the beginning, but I'm going to flip it around and for everyone to see. I have a chair that I tied this to, and I have a kettlebell and a dumbbell weighting it in place. And I've tied the ends around my waist. There are special, you could be drilling a hook into your wall, you could be buying the special, like, backstrap, like, anchor type things, but it really is as easy as if you have, what did I use for this? Let me rethink my materials list. If you have playing cards, scissors, a hole puncher, and thread, you pretty much can do this. Like, I even made my shuttle out of a playing card, so fun for everyone. I think this would be something that's would be really fun to do with kids, or I'm at the point where I'm like, I was supposed to be doing something. I'm like, was I supposed to be turning forwards or backwards? We'll never know. Well, we will know, because I'm going to do it, and if it's wrong, it's wrong, and I have to redo it. This is where I get into trouble. I just, like, get distracted, and I'll walk off and be like, was I going forwards or backwards? You can kind of look, because I know that my, my plain weave section, is a forward chevron, so if I look at that and I see that my chevron is going to a point, then I will know that it's supposed to be forward turns, and if it's supposed to be backwards turns, it'll be opening up like a V. Yeah, I don't know. Tablet weaving is extra fun. Yeah, so I heard an email back from the donor of the original rope I've been studying, and she said that if she saw them being used in Iran by some nomadic peoples as ropes to hold together wooden tent posts or masts or whatever they are. I'd need to figure out specifically how they're tied, but pretty much all-purpose ropes. And she doesn't know too much about the origin of the pattern, so that's the next step. She's going to ask a friend if she knows where it's from. Because I don't know, I was struggling to find out their Iranian patterns. I found like 1 or 2 examples, and they were all like really figurative, lizardy looking things. And I'm assuming that, like, of course there's so many different groups and so many different patterns. It's a lot of diversity, so like it would make complete sense if it's from somewhere else, but it's just not seeing the type of geometric pattern that was originally there was like kind of confusing to me. And I explained this yesterday, but the label was miswritten as like tote instead of tent, like T-E-U-T. Either that or the handwriting's really bad and I just couldn't read it. But I went on this huge tangent on how I was like, tote rope, what does that mean? And I like looked it up and I was like, oh, that could be from Teutonic, meaning of the Teutons, which are a Germanic group from what is modern day Denmark. And I was like, it could be a Germanic pattern, that makes sense. It looks like these other Germanic patterns, but I'd just been misreading it and went on a 1-month tangent, but that's fine. So, that's fine. I don't know, I just think it's kind of funny because I put so much energy into this theory, and I was like, but that's research. Alright, which way am I going? I'm going forward, because as I mentioned, if it's like your chevrons are going forward. Oh, you know what I should try is I should see if I do 8 turns forwards and 4 turns backwards, what happens. Let's do that. It's competition, who can make the coolest pattern. But I feel like that'd be really hard to judge because they're all just going to be really cool patterns. So quarter turn forward, beat down, pull my eyelash, pass the shuttle. I know, I had a period where I was doing a lot of double cloth on a, double weave pickup on a floor loom, and that took forever, so it's refreshingly fast to do this. So I'm not quite there yet, but if you get to the point where your band's a little far away from you to comfortably do this, you can just readjust your end so that the band goes around your waist and just kind of shimmy it forward. And then your cards move up and down your warp pretty easily like this. That's supposed to be going forward, right? Yeah, that looks right. Alright, alright. I don't know what I'm going to do with this band. I would use it as a bookmark, but I have so many bookmarks, and I just haven't been reading very much lately, because I've just been like, just want to do all the techniques and all the crafts, and then I don't have time to read because I've just spent 4 hours sitting around weaving or knitting or something. But it would make a pretty bookmark. I feel like this would make a really pretty collar for my cat, but I feel like she'd also hate wearing it. I don't know, what else could you do with these? Of course, you can always sew them on or on the collar of your shirt, and people can be like, whoa, that's so fancy, and I don't know. I don't want to say exotic, but interesting looking. And you can be like, oh, thank you, I wove it myself. Because anyone who's crafty knows that the minute someone compliments something handmade, you have to tell them the entire story of how it was made and what you did for it. And also you have to ask them to touch it. Alright, so I did my 8 forward, and I'm going to do my 4 backwards, my 4 quarter turns backwards. And we're just going to see how it goes. What happens? Some of my edges, salvages, eyelashes are sticking out and looking a little funny, but that's okay. It doesn't hurt the integrity of the weaving. It's just like how the edge looks. Make it long enough for a headband. Yeah, I've been really wanting to make one that's long enough to be a belt, because another side project, I want to make 18th century style pockets, like the ones that were a separate garment with the embroidery on it, and then I would hang it from my tablet woven belt and just, I don't know, look like I'm gonna go on an adventure. I don't really have a description for what that look is, but I want it. So I started making a mock-up forever ago about how I those pockets would go, and I made 2 different patterns. I didn't like either of them very much, but I want to refine that and do a lot of embroidery, and just because if your pockets aren't big enough, you can make extra special pockets that are just a separate garment. They knew what was up until it became fashionable, until Regency fashion came around. Yeah, Wizard Bella, keep all my potions in there. Alright, I was going backwards, right? Yeah, has anyone been reading about Regency fashion lately? Because I know Emma came out, so everyone's really on that, or everyone in my strange Instagram communities that I follow has been talking about Regency fashion and wanting to recreate things from Emma. But I'm like, what could you keep in a reticule? That just looks so small. Those little, bags that look like the size of, what you would keep a fish in home from the fair. Why'd they get rid of the pockets? Who knows? But now's the time for them to come back if they were ever had the time for them to come back, because fanny packs are in. So, free hanging pockets. Next big fashion trend. Get making your pockets and stay ahead of the curve. All right, so I've done 8 forward and 4 backwards. I'm going to do 4 more forwards to complete the diamond, then I'll show you what that pattern would look like should you do it. I have a second one that I'm working on as a sample of trying to add it to a garment later on. It's quite simple in comparison to this. It's just like kind of diagonal diamonds. I showed it in the beginning, but I don't know. I feel like the hardest part is just picking colors because it will be going on a black wool, and I'm like, what colors go on black wool? Everything goes on black wool, but now I need a palette. I don't know. The burden of decision is great. What is this? Alright. So my quarter turn forwards, push it forward, beat, pass. Alright. So let's take a little look-see-do at what 8 forward, 4 backwards, 4 forward would look like. So this is the section where I did 8 forwards instead of 4 forwards, so you can see I have this extra little doodad in there. And if you had 8 forwards, 8 backwards, you would get the doodad on the other side as well. So that's another variation you could be doing with your thing. I know thing's not a good description, but here, whatever you want it to be, a headband or trim or belt or, yeah. So, I know this live stream is probably it's one of the less eventful ones, because what can you going? You're just weaving. All right, let's go. Oof, I'm hot. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. How are your guys' turning out? Good? Oh! My ends just came undone around my waist, but fear not, we're just gonna retie them. Oh, one thing to show you. Also, I realized I didn't show what the back looks like, so I'm gonna... Thank you. I'm actually going to be posting the one with the different colors, the pattern for it, tomorrow, so you could recreate that one too. So this is the front and this is the back. Yeah. So I made a pattern for that based off of the tent rope I've been studying in the TRC. So this is the pattern for it, and I'm just going to put it out there. So if anyone wishes to recreate it and have a tent band of your own, the tools shall be there. You now know how to tablet weave. This is just more colors. But it took me a while to figure it out, but the pattern for that is 3 forward, 3 backwards, and you never do an A-B shed except for when you are doing plain weave. And that's like, I don't know, I was really confused because I was like, why is there all this like scarring and this like blue and brown in my fabric, these weird lines? Turns out they just don't use A-B sheds except for plain weave. So I will be writing that out, and that'll be there, and then we can all have tent ropes, in addition to our matching friendship bracelets from this as well. And I will, I know like most of the weaving's getting done today, but I plan on live streaming tomorrow just to talk one last time about some resources I've been looking at, and maybe weave a tiny bit more, but just show how to cut off and tie the ends. But that's pretty simple, so if you guys, I was gonna say if you have any burning questions, but I guess you can ask me now too. Yeah, I just plan on doing a little wrap up and talking about some sources I've been looking at. So let's keep weaving with that. Alright, what do I want to do now? So I just did 4 forwards. I don't know. I'll do 4 more forwards and we'll continue this pattern. Pull my eyelashes. Also, it'll be 10 times easier for you to do the multicolored like recreation one than I did, because I didn't know, like, I didn't warp it around the doorknobs originally, and that made an even bigger tangle than I had yesterday. I had my roommate helping me, and then I was like, no, the cards are in the wrong direction, but they were in the right direction. I messed it up. I flipped them around the wrong way, and I have a first one I didn't show that I didn't do that. I just realized that I didn't post my recreation on this account. I've posted my recreation on my personal account, and I'll be talking about that tomorrow. But like, the multicolored one you're talking about that I posted today is the one in the TRC. So I will be posting a pattern on how you can create that yourself. I think that one has 28 cards total, if I'm not mistaken. I'd need to count, but you would need to make more cards for that than for this one. Alright. Just realized that when you do 8 forward, 4 backwards, it kind of looks like a little fish. That's fun. I'll pull tight. Do my quarter turns, push it forwards. So if any of you are completing this project with me, I'd love to see posts about it and to tag Micro Macro or me at Carolina Filing, because I want to see the fruits of my teaching labor. See what people come up with, because of course I feel like yarn weight and color and like the combinations of forwards and backwards you do will make such a difference. It's just going to be really neat to see all the different variations people come up with. Should I go forwards or backwards? I think I'm just going to go backwards. We'll see what happens. Just remember, people, it's not a mistake, it's a design detail. That's the secret. Alright, so now I'm going to do my 8 forward again. Yeah, it looks like I have a little fishy pattern going now. I'll show you once I've completed this 8 forward again, just to see. So I feel like it's easier when you have more pattern to get an idea of what's going on. Oof. Now, it might be difficult if you are working with wool, because my original recreation was done with wool, and I found that my threads kind of stuck together a lot, so you might have to be checking to make sure that the threads aren't sticking together, and the ones that are supposed to be on top are on top, and the ones that are supposed to be on bottom are on bottom. I'm gonna, well, I have the videos to post, but you can still tag me if you want to recreate the same threading pattern. I put that up. Actually, I'm going to go pop out of frame for a second and pull my chair closer so you can see my cards again. Alright. I could get closer to the chair, but then I have to reposition the camera. So, make sure it's facing the right way for whatever you're doing. Oh, I think I mentioned this maybe on my first live stream, but it's really interesting because this technique is just so old. Like, it goes back to the Iron Age for sure, but there's a lot of debate whether or not it started in Egypt or not. Because there's this girdle, they called it girdle. I don't know. I've seen it described as like a corset belt and girdle. So who knows what that actually looks like. But of King Ramses III, in his tomb, his burial tomb, he was found wearing this woven belt, and a lot of people think it's tablet woven, and this German weaver proved that it could be tablet woven by doing a recreation of tablet weaving, but a lot of people also think it could be done with a different type of primitive loom. So it's just, I don't know. I personally think that it probably is a different type of primitive loom as well, but I don't really have much base for that, except for the things I've read, which I'll just kind of say there's discussion, but since they haven't found the physical loom or cards it was made with, it's kind of just up in the air over the technique. But with the Iron Age ones in Scandinavia, they have found the cards. They have found like loom weights and shuttles for this, and like actually bands that are still with the cards attached. So until you show me the cards, I'm just gonna say that it could be whatever. It's probably, I'm gonna say it's not tablet weaving and something else, but this is a pretty simple technique, so it like feasibly could be done by anyone who just has something to turn into cards. What was I doing? Was I doing forward ones? Sure. Just go with it. And also, if you forget any of this and need a refresher, there are a lot of things on YouTube as well on how to do this. But if you have graph paper, you can make your own patterns too. There's like, I don't know if it's free or not, but I keep seeing people making like these patterns with this like graph paper type computer program that will show you what the final pattern looks like. I have no idea what it's called, but I've seen it. So like, if you could figure out theoretically what it's called. And it supposedly lets you know if there's errors in your pattern as well. I know this because previously mentioned roommate, who is actually quite good at this, said she was doing, she was making a pattern and it wouldn't work unless her cards had 6 holes in them. And so she had to redo it. I was like, easy solution, just make cards with 6 holes. Other fun thing, yeah, there can be cards with 6 holes. So I've seen, you can have the cards with multiple sides, like 6 holes, or like 7 sides and 1 in the center, or like there can be triangular ones with a hole in the center as well, but I don't think there's much advantage to that, except for it's just harder to hold, so I don't know why you would do that, but there's a lot of different things you can do with this, and you could go forth and make your own patterns. So I didn't actually make my own patterns for this before I tried to do the recreation of the TRC object. So, if I can do it, you can do it. Alright. Did I do? I didn't. So, I'm gonna show you my work thus far. So I've got these kind of fishtail ones. That's me doing 8 forward, 4 backwards. So I'm just gonna continue weaving this until it's my desired length, and tomorrow I'm gonna be cutting off and just kind of sharing some final resources. So I think I'm gonna cut this live stream a little shorter than I did last night, because that took forever for those of you who are watching. This will be saved to the story. I'm gonna try to figure out a way to post it later because I'm struggling. So if anyone knows how, if you can post Instagram ones you've saved after the fact, let me know. But if no one has any final questions or needs help with their weaving, I'm going to sign off and say goodnight. Give it a second. I think I forward or backwards. I know I've said that a million times. I just forget my direction. So I'll finish this, and then I'll sign off. Finish my couple forwards. You see, it really can be that fast if you're not also trying to talk. Good night, Fancy Pickles. All right. I think that is it for me. So, good night, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow for my final wrap up on this and how to just cut it off from your loom and tie up the ends. All right, have a good evening and happy weaving.